So, Jia Teng, we have seen quite a few numbers of China-based companies that are listed in Malaysia, but majority of them, I wouldn't say most of them, but majority of them, they are not doing very well here, and we have known it all along. So why are we writing this story now?
Yep. Obviously, the China-based listed company in Bursa, Malaysia are facing some really serious audit or corporate governance issues here. So why are we talking about this again? Because I think things are getting worse. If you look at multi-sports as it is, it has failed to submit their financial statements since 2015. Last Monday, Bursa Malaysia sent them a show cause letter, so they have to explain to the stock exchange why it shouldn't be delisted. So I think if they didn't give a good reply, next week they will be delisted and become the first China-based companies, to be delisted. So it's really happening. It's not the public reprimand. It's not the query. It's like a final warning from Bursa Malaysia. And if multi-sports become the first China company to be delisted, the question is who will be the next now. So we can see that Bursa Malaysia is losing its patience.
So if we know that all these companies are so difficult to be audited based on what external auditors say, like checking their stocks, going to their company to look at their working conditions and their staff, number of staff. So is it fair to, just implement or impose more stringent rules on these China companies?
First and foremost, I think personally, I think it's not fair to just shut the door completely to the China just because they are China-based companies. Because, as our colleague Cindy has rightly pointed out in the story, they are good quality China-based companies. Just that the problem is that how do we attract them here to Malaysia? So what needs to be done? I mean, if you ask, I think most people would say in general, we need to have more stringent, stricter rules, listing rules and regulations. But again, it's easier said than done, because you can imagine if Alibaba wants to come to Malaysia, would you say
no? We wouldn't say no, of course.
And what if multi-sports wants to come to Malaysia and you implement stricter rules? That's double standard, right? Yeah. So it's really difficult.
So Cindy say that not all China-based companies are bad. Like what President Liew MSWG General Manager said, not all of these 12M chips are rotten apples. So what are the good ones? Because we have seen so many bad ones in the market.
It's a very tricky question, because I think 2 years ago, if you ask me, I would say Maxwell International is one of the few companies that actually separate from the bad apples. But unfortunately, early last year also, Baker Tilly make a special audit on the company because they have a hefty advertising expenditure in China. Right. So personally, I was also a bit surprised. So today, if you ask me, I think Kangar International is one of the remaining one that actually they don't have major corporate governance and audit issues. I'm not saying that it's a good company, but at least they are profit making and they have been submitting their financial statement and audit annual report on time.
Now, some of these companies like Xingquan, Sidelang, and Multi-Sports, they have cash reserve. They have huge cash pile in the company, but they are still raising money from the investors. And some of their cash call were undersubscribed. You also spoke to President Ho, Malaysian Investors Association. What did she say?
I think what we can do now is that we raise the question. I mean, people like Datin Ho, what we can normally do is we raise the question. But most of the time, if you ask the company, since you have so much cash pile, why you're still making cash call, you won't get a very good, straight answer. They will just tell you that, they need to conserve cash, and all these things. But it's really difficult to get a good answer from them.
Now, out of all these 12 M chips, I'm still talking about M chips. So about 3-4 of them, we have seen their share prices tumbling down. And is it mainly because their major shareholders are making exit? They are actually paring down stake in Malaysia. That's why investors are getting really impatient. They lost confidence in these companies. That's why we see share prices going down.
I think that's one of the reasons, but again, you can't blame them also. When the share price goes down, they might feel, they might, get fed up and say, since you don't appreciate my stock and, I'm losing money, why don't I just, cash out? It's like, it works in two ways, vice versa. When the share price goes down, and they want to sell. But if you sell, you will make the share price drop even further because minority shareholders might perceive it as major shareholders has lose confidence in the companies.
So based on what we discussed just now, it seems like a daunting market for investors to enter. So how should a potential investors proceed in this kind of condition?
I think if you look at it, everyone should share some responsibility, the regulators, the companies, even the investors themselves. You can't blame one single party entirely for the failure of this China-based company. So what can the investors do? I mean, if you ask people people like Datin Ho, obviously she'll ask you to do more homework. And Datin Ho said, quoting US President Donald Trump, sometimes your best investments are the one you don't make.
For more on the stories, pick up a copy of The Edge Weekly at all good newsstands.